wherever everyone is. Yeah, glad to be here. First meeting. I Yeah, I was introduced by a friend to Layer 5. I had a chance to meet with Lee, but it was my first chance to meet with everyone. Happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you for joining in, Michael.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess that covers the newcomers today. So let's get started off with the agenda. Aditya, would you like to share your updates on the compatibility matrix?
Yep, sure. I will share my screen.
That's
So I'll just share the design mockup, which I and Subedi were discussed actually. Okay, so our task is to create a compatibility matrix for the Meshery adapters so that each, one second, let's connection's unstable. Okay, I don't know what it is. Sorry for the interruption. So for today's, I and Subedi were talking about how the compatibility matrix would look like. So it's like basically collecting overall the test results of the integration test, as you can see here. So like for each timestamp, the tests are being run and then the results are being posted and then published onto the Meshery docs. So our objective is to create an overall table which represents the overall results of the Meshery test for the Meshery adapters. So this is actually the design mock-up. So I know it's a bit of a bit skeptical, but what we had in mind is like it will be this all colors will be in the form of symbols. Like for green, it will be a tick mark. For or yellow, it will be a tick mark with the yellow color, and for red, it will be a cross. And for this one, I just referred like some of the Meshery adapters are not being tested yet. For example, like console, NSM, and so I gave this color code like not tested. So this is just the overall markup. So uh, and also we are considering like this what are all the stable versions present and the edge versions, and therefore what will be the overall compatibility, like taking the probability of these two cases and then finally the result will be appearing here. So since this both are good, the overall will be good, else it will be false. So are there any cases to be noted or any notes to be noted so that we can do better on this?
Alpha, did you show the existing compatibility matrix? You might have, and I just didn't see it.
Yeah, I just saw, but unfortunately the link is forgotten, so I couldn't open it right now. So I'm just showing it. This is just a mock-up what we had though, and we discussed, and this is just the so.
Oh yeah, no, this is good. Yeah, this is good. Actually, what I mean is the other docs page that you had up. It's a good like the mock-up that you have. That information, that summary information, would go at the top of that docs page. So if you go back to the compatibility matrix.
You mean this one?
Yeah. But I apologize. Did you show this when you first started talking about this topic?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to show this one. This is just
Okay,
for
cool.
the reference.
Great. Okay, good. This, do you want to introduce people to this? Because it'll give a lot of context as to this unit of work, and they'll be able to offer a little more insightful feedback, I think. So do you just want to introduce people to these integration test results?
Okay. So for guys who are new to this compatibility matrix, like so as Lee mentioned, each of the Meshery adapters will be made to run in its separate environment, and then it will be tested like whether these test results are being passed or not. So there will be integration tests being run by the GitHub Actions, which is present in each of some of the Meshery Adapters repo. And to view the past results, if you click this, then you would get the whole history of what are all the tests being run and at which duration the tests are being run and if it is passed or not. Sorry for the interruption. So yeah, this is for the Meshery Istio. And as you can see here, for the Meshery component version, like there are we're considering two cases like edge and stable. So stable means where it will be denoted in a form of the semantic versioning. For in this case, version 0.5.28 is the stable version, and hence it will be mentioned here. If it is being tested on edge case, like say, if you introduce the change in a PR and it is immediately merged, then it will be considered as an edge case. So the edge version will be considered. So you can actually view it. And if there are any tests which are being failed or just inappropriate, then you can just see them over here. Like you can get that overall info. Like, okay, now in this case, like, so some of the tests are not able to being run. So in this case, it's like SU egress gateway and same way like that. So yep, that's much of it.
Nice. And so what Alpha is working toward, and along with Subedi, who isn't on, is, yeah, it's just a summarization of this information. It's great to be able to drill down into the details. There's sort of two levels of details for each of these test results. The page itself, the title of the page is called a compatibility matrix. And it's something of a lie. It's something of a farce because this is really a set of end-to-end integration test results. Okay, so where's the compatibility matrix? Well, it's some of that data is inherent to the results. So is the Meshery Istio adapter compatible with Istio 1.13.2? Well, it's green, so it looks like it. And actually it is. And that's what the green checkboxes mean. Okay, good. What about Kubernetes? What versions of Kubernetes is Meshery compatible with? Well, actually for the Istio adapter, it's green against this version of Kubernetes. And as like, it's not just Kubernetes, it's not just the service meshes, it's it's a really complex, it's combinatorial math. It's it's Mac OS, Linux OS, Windows, it's x64, it's ARM, it's M1s. It's just a long list of Linkerd stable 2.11.1. What about 2.11.0? And so on and so on. And so there's a lot of, so the test framework and the notion that management software like Meshery is compatible with the things that it's managing is quite critical to the value that Meshery provides. And so the thought here that Alpha is working toward is, a useful summarization of that information. There's good inspiration that you can find from, actually, I think the screenshot that's in this issue is VMware's compatibility matrix. It's probably more than what is needed here, but yeah, if someone comes with the question of like, hey, what version of Kubernetes is Meshery compatible with? And it's not just Meshery, it's Meshery version such and such. Yeah. So, everybody familiar with pivot tables? Like, anyway, so with that context, Alpha, if you go back to your, the mock-up here, so if someone comes just under that use case, they come with a question of, is the latest Meshery compatible with Istio 122? And we would probably want to drop an entry in here for Kubernetes. What
Okay,
else? Like,
okay.
yeah. So we also have SMI conformance test results if you really wanted to complicate things, but I don't think that we do at this point, but you're hitting it about right. You know, at least of the feedback that I can offer is what you might, so you've got individual, what you might want to do is, given that there's more info to present, maybe we would hide the edge versions for the moment, maybe not, but have Meshery server as a component. Meshery perf is an upcoming component adapter as well. Yeah, one of the things that there's, I don't know if Sumya is on right now. I don't think he is, but one of the things to give consideration to is that this compatibility matrix that you have mocked up here, good, like, you know, good. So it says for a given version of a Meshery component, here's its, here's it. See, yeah, you need you need kind of a multi-folded, you probably need a drop down, at least maybe one or two top level drop downs or top level view switchers that would change you from the latest Meshery release to a release prior. And like, what does that look like?
Okay.
For like, because if someone comes with the stipulation that says, hey, I'm running Istio 118, I'm sorry, Kubernetes 118, what version of Meshery is compatible with that? That they may need to switch through they need to, yeah, boy, can you go to meshery.io/SMI? Maybe we'll give a different example of this. Does anyone else have feedback, by the way? So it's a little bit of a pain in the rump. It's information architecture and how to best summarize and present to users. People would come and say, well, I'm running OpenShift version such and such, and I'm running it on, well, probably Red Hat Linux, right? And they'd want to know, is Meshery compatible with that? So yeah, if you were to go there, here's a different relevant example of Meshery performing tests against individual service meshes and the different versions of those service meshes. It runs these tests to see if the service meshes are compatible with SMI version 0.6. That's what the .6 is in the upper left-hand corner. Good. What about version 0.7? Okay. So if there was a selector there, like a dropdown, then given that this is a service mesh interface report, you could then browse by service mesh interface version who is compatible. Like that's, yep. So now that I think is mostly making sense, let me make it more complicated, which is that, well, like in this example, great. So there's different versions of service mesh interface and the 4 specifications that service mesh interface has. Good. Each individual service mesh at different versions. Are those versions compatible or not? Good. Now, the test cases themselves, so why there's a green check mark or not, there's a specific set of test cases. Actually, yeah, I think if you click on one of those, like why did it fail? Is that clickable, by the way?
No, it's not clickable.
Okay, but if you go down to the bottom in the legend,
Sorry.
there should be a link that explains a bit more. So that hyperlink at the bottom explains a bit more about the test cases themselves, and like what tests and what assertions are being verified specifically. So if you scroll toward the bottom, there's like a list of, so these are the specific tests. So what makes this like one order of magnitude more confusing is that the conformance test itself has its own version. Today, there are 35 tests or some certain number. Tomorrow, there's potentially another set. And so we don't have to figure that out on this call. But I was just helping expand the thinking here as you consider how to summarize. So.
Okay.
So Hussein, so there's a couple of folks, at least that come to mind off the top of my head, that have either been at VMware or are currently at VMware. And so like Hussein and Michael, this will make probably a lot of sense to you as well as to the rest. But if you, Alpha, if you were to open up the GitHub issue for this particular body of work, the screenshot in there should show, like, just as a random example, like VMware's compatibility matrix.
No person, I will just open up.
Yeah, so just, here's your online pivot table, and so, hey, look, we don't have to get there today.
Okay.
I think you have a general sense, like the mock-up that you have is aimed in the right direction. It is a summary. You are presenting a summary. You're on the right path. There are others on the call that might have something to add.
Hello.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sukran, hey, Hamza.
Yeah, I just have a suggestion. Like the compatibility matrix, I think adding something about the operating system on which the tests were run and whether they failed or passed would, I don't know. I don't know if it's crucial, but from my point of view, I think it's a perfect candidate to consider for inclusion in the matrix. That's all. Thank you.
Alpha, what do you think? Hussein, do you have a perspective on this?
I believe what Secretary is saying is that we should also include OS compatibility, like Windows, Mac, and Linux-based.
But generally, are we considering the
that
OS
would-
compatibility in this case?
Yeah, it would make it complex, right? So
Okay.
Yeah, OS compatibility, we probably shouldn't be putting in the same table. It would
Okay.
become difficult to represent it, right?
Yeah, it would be difficult. I thought.
Any more? Does anyone else want to say anything about this? Any more thoughts? Okay, I'll take the silence as no. Thanks, Aditya, for sharing this. Let's move on with the other items. Uzair, would you give us a small demo on the Cilium adapter?
Yes, sure. I will share my screen.
Awesome.
So yeah, so while Uzair brings that up, just a little bit of context for everyone. So today, Meshery has 10 different adapters for individual service meshes. Pop quiz. Why does Meshery have an adapter per mesh? Why doesn't it just have a single service mesh adapter? It's like extra credit on this pop quiz, by the way.
Is my screen visible to all?
Yep.
Just a minute.
So while you all contemplate that question about why there are individual adapters, I'll fill in the time here and say that Pranav is onto something in the chat. I also say that there are 10 adapters currently. One of them needs to be turned down. Speaking of VMware, it was the Octarine service mesh, that adapter, that company that was acquired by VMware some time ago. And in that time, that software has gone away or been reincarnated somewhere else. So that adapter needs to be deprecated. And so in its place, so we'll still, while we're adding another adapter for Cilium, the overall count will probably stay at 10. So we'll have to.
Okay, so you can see the Meshery Cilium adapter. Cilium support for Cilium adapter has been added to Meshery UI as well. You can see all the basic operations of the installing the Cilium service mesh and the sample application. You can now do it with the UI as well, and as well with the Meshery CLI. The earlier issue of lifecycle management page was not loading for the Cilium service mesh is also been fixed. As you can see, I hit the install button and we get a success message. Service mesh successfully installed. And the other one of and also the Cilium adapter is now using the latest version of Meshery Adapter library, and the regression from it of the regression from it that Cilium service mesh was not able to install, it's also been fixed. And now another support for component generation for the new version if available, and making it statically available have also been added. Can you please specify what else I can show you, or what specific details you want?
Yeah. Utser, were you able to confirm that Cilium is in fact installed on your cluster?
Yes. Cilium operator and the deployment and the replica sets for the Cilium adapter.
Nice.
Here is one thing, as you can see, one of the pods for the Cilium doesn't come up. It always dies. I don't know, is it this issue, is it my local system or else what?
I can sense Mr. Tellerico just wanting to chime in and maybe share if it's common. So the pod. Okay, so you're saying which one? Okay, so it might be the resources on your system potentially.
Might be.
Although, is it consistently the Cilium pod that has failed?
Yes. There was issue regarding this uh, I think this issue. But I was not able to understand why this is the case. Pranav, can you confirm, is this issue with your system as well?
Yeah, actually, I was yesterday checking it out, and I was also not able to see running pod for Cilium. Though if I don't we don't use the adapter for installing and I directly use the Helm chart, then it does get installed. But like if for adapter, I think there's some problem we need to figure it out. Though the Helm chart works fine if we use them separately.
Nice. So Joe Tolerico of the Cilium project was just on. I think he's on another call, but he knows that you guys were demoing, so he wanted to come see it. And so he's a Cilium, he's the Cilium representative. So he's a great person to ask. It may well, since we don't have a totally packed agenda today, one thing that we might want to just take a quick look at is, Sarah, if you were to do a kubectl logs on that particular pod, there might be a decent indication as to why it's having a hard time coming up. Pranav, when you do a Helm-based install outside of Meshery, are there any particular configuration values that it requires?
No, one thing is that like for Helm-based install, Cilium uses its own CTL, which we don't have right now in the adapter, Cilium CTL. So I wanted to ask this, it's just missed from my mind that also need to add the Cilium CTL in the install operation, so that if, for example, Helm chart like fails to install, then it can fall back to Cilium CTL for installing. I think in Istio adapter also we have something like this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Kuma also supports that.
Is there the secondary? I'm sorry. Is there the Cilium CTL in there? The adapter currently?
No, in the adapter we don't have it right now.
Okay. So I don't know if you're, Uzair, I don't know. You've been put on the spot. A few of you have been put on the spot on today's call, which keeps everyone on their toes. But I wonder, is that Cilium pod inside the default namespace? If not,
no, in the cube system namespace.
Okay. That if you go ahead and if you do that same command again, but you tack on the cube system namespace.
This command, right?
Yeah. And so yeah, if you do that same command but with a -n cube system. And then the name of the container again, the pod. And there might, okay. Keep going if you would. Keep going. Envoy logs. Interesting. Keep going.
This is no error. Would you describe this
failing to fetch something. kubectl describe Cilium.
Yeah, Abhi, I don't know if you were audible.
He was saying if you could do kubectl describe.
I mean, I couldn't see any error level information from
Yeah, the fatal one at the bottom might be so envoy binary Cilium envoy cannot be executed. Cool. Yeah, if you take that last fatal message, that's one to go research a bit. Again, if you ask Joe Tolerico in Slack, he might be able to point you in the right direction. Yeah. So given this, Uzair, this is great. I think we're like on the precipice of having a new adapter in beta. It's pretty exciting. Sounds like we've got an enhancement request as well to support a fallback provisioning with the Cilium CTL. Excuse me.
I will look into adding support for the fallback method.
Nice. Perfect. Anybody else have feedback for Uzair or Pranav? Good. I sense that you all share in my excitement. This is great. Very timely adapter. That project, Cilium, and the startup behind it, Isovalent, they're quite interested. I was just meeting with them yesterday. They're quite excited as well. So particularly around performance management and how well their mesh performs. So in a weird twist of events, they might be the first one to begin self-reporting their performance test results, which is why we built out the GitHub action. Well, it's not the only reason why, but it's one of the reasons why. And so time will tell. First, we'll have to figure out why the Envoy binary is falling over.
Okay, thanks, Uzair. Thanks, Pranav. Moving on, Piyush, would you like to speak to your topic?
Okay. Hello, guys. I was not aware of that. There was a topic on my name. Okay. So, okay, I'll talk. I won't be able to share something right now. System start won't be implementing any kind of dry run. Okay, because that is not needed now. We came up with some other solution to maintain the Helm errors. Okay, right now I hope you won't see them for at least quite a few times. And with system stop, I'm thinking to implement dry run there. To use something that we are implementing, the force cleanup cluster. If in any case mesheryctl does not Helm fails in case to clear all those deployments, service accounts, secrets, and all these details, we will try to use the dry run to check that if it will fail or not. If it is guaranteed to fail, we will implement force cleanup. Or if it will work, then we will just go our way, use the Helm method to delete them. So dry run will be there in system stop, but it won't be in system start. Okay.
So I don't know if this is too much to explain this call. Can you tell me how the dry run works?
Okay. on the very basic, I don't have much detail about how it actually works. Dry run, Helm provides itself a dry run mechanism. Like it will, how should I tell it? I haven't read about it, how exactly dry run works behind the scene in Helm package, but it has a feature to try to dry run any kind of action, maybe install, uninstall, upgrade. All these methods can be dry run, and can be used to get to know that if it will guaranteed to work or it may fail. So it kind of give us that kind of outputs. So we can use the leverage that functionality in system stop. In system start, it is not required.
Okay.
Nice. So actually, just to clarify and to help everyone kind of be on the same page on this, because it will often affect contributors, which a lot of you are. So I'll share really briefly. Part of what's, I don't know, maybe we'll finally realize the full potential of our choice to centralize on Helm. But often what will happen if you build Meshery server and it connects to your Kubernetes cluster, one of the first things that it tries to do is deploy the Meshery operator. Why? Because you want to get mesh sync up and running as fast as possible so you can reduce time to value for users, so that you can begin discovering discovering your Kubernetes infrastructure, your environment, and sending that information back to Meshery server. Okay, great. So Meshery server will provision the Meshery operator and mesh sync. I'm just realizing it's probably better to just share some quick visuals. I'll share these visuals as I go to ask Piyush a question, which Piyush. So there's actually a set of sequence diagrams about how it is that the Meshery operator is deployed and kind of all that entails. So to cut to the chase, actually, rather than explaining it all, Piyush, so we're not, Meshery CTL is, just to confirm, because it's not using Helm dry run, but it is using Helm upgrade, or no?
Okay, so how it was, I'll try to explain it a little more. It has no dry run. System start has no dry run at all. If there are already some deployments running, okay,
that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I just if you're not using dry run, you're not using the upgrade capability of Helm, so you're just manually detect. If on failure, you'll go ahead and delete and then reapply. And now that they've got the same release name, that's no longer a point of contention.
That's no longer a requirement, because it will now detect that yes, there are some pods there, some deployments there. So it will automatically upgrade its method to install to upgrade. It will switch the method there. So it will switch and then it works fine.
Nice, good. I only skipped over that just because we normally take a lot of time to explain. And in this case, I think we've explained this one, we're both sort of tightly gripping onto our sanity on this one. And kudos to you, by the way, for having the wherewithal to see this through. I think Helm has 1, 2, 3, 4 letters, which I think is pretty appropriate at this point with our experience as a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. So what Piyush, I think the takeaway for most of us is Piyush is saying the next time that you're using Meshery CTL to either start a Meshery deployment, stop a Meshery deployment, update a Meshery deployment, restart one, if you see an error come back, he'd like to know about it. Because for the most part, we consider that those are gone. With respect to this challenge between, really the challenge was a split-brained problem in which Meshery server was being partially responsible for its own deployment of the operator and of MeshSync, while the other brain in this case was Meshery CTL, who was being also responsible for the deployment of Meshery operator and MeshSync. And between the two of them, they had discrepancies, and that has been plaguing us for a while. So this really isn't a user-facing concern as much as it or hasn't been, as much as it's been a contributor-facing concern. If you're interested in why that is, just ask on the discuss forum, and we'll explain it.
Yeah, mostly these kind of Helm issues will be faced by contributors, because like you always deploy and delete multiple times a day, and like your cluster gets messed up. So no, users will rarely or sometimes may face it.
Anybody have questions for Piyush in this regard? Rudraj, I know you've been sort of recently engaged here. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to know what's the problem with directly, like with what is the problem with directly going and deleting resources? Like, why do we need to for that?
Okay, so yeah, maybe like since we face deletion problems sometimes, and that's why we created the -- force flag, and it may like it's really what should I say, frustrating thing if mesheryctl says that yeah, everything is deleted, but the person can see with kubectl that so many resources are there, and that's why the like try run and the force cleanup is needed in system stop. Does that answer your
But if we
question?
do a good job, yeah, if we do a good the force cleanup itself, then Helm will.
Okay, so if we make it mandatory, like the force cleanup, it still might mess up, because like we are not doing it like with the like Helm. Whenever install something, it does a lot of things additional to the manifest. Whatever the values we are passing, it adds more details to it, and if anything is left behind, the next time user will install, it might get messed up, and like he will face any more issues. So it's like we can't make it the compulsory one. Like we will always force cleanup. Force cleanup is the fallback, will be the fallback step of like uninstalling Meshery components.
Got it.
Yeah, just to add to that, Rudraj, that's a great question. It's like unto its own, the answer to your question is like that there's nothing out like innately wrong with simply just force deleting any residual meshery artifacts, any residual components left behind or orphaned as part of a deployment that's been stopped. Unto its own, there isn't an issue, but as a design principle, like pattern, it's riddled with sustainability issues and edge cases, and so in this case, we want to use. Ideally, we want to be using the same mechanism to undeploy as was used to deploy. Now, that said, like it can be helpful to have a force command or feature flag that augments the behavior a little more forcefully. Did that make it in, by the way? Did we cut that flag?
It's in system stop. You are running system start.
Stop.
Oh, sure. Okay, fine. Yeah, that was. You guys passed the test. I was just checking to see if. Nice. So okay, great. Perfect. There will be less 4-letter words escaping my mouth, thanks to Piyush. I appreciate that. Any other questions or feedback before we go to the next topic? So I think Subedi was on the call earlier, had to drop off. Rudraj, that's you, man. I think you're up.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Aditya wanted to. I don't know which Aditya. I have to check. I really don't want to discuss about this PR.
I just wanted everyone to be on the same page. That's
Oh, okay. Cool. So this is basically so the problem, the issue was that running mesheryctl version would error out, would just panic the app. Like one of the errors possible would be if your meshery server is not running and you run mesheryctl version, then instead of displaying an error message, it will just panic. So the reason was because we were using the meshkit logger to log non-meshkit errors, which is documented to panic applications. So I just replace errors with all the meshkit errors with their own error codes, so that nothing will be logged without the app panicking. That's the PR.
Nice, good deal. Questions for Rudraj? Rudraj, did you say why it is that the issue came up in the first place? Like,
I think I think because we were using the meshkit logger and we were trying to log non-meshkit errors.
Gotcha.
And I did, yeah. So I looked to the docs for meshkit errors, and I found that if you try to log non-meshkit errors, meshkit logger will panic that.
Gotcha. Very good. Sorry, Subedi, I didn't realize that you were on. Do you want to take the next topic?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. So I've been working on the card design for the pattern for the designs. Like we have a card design on the profiles. Wait, sorry, my network is a bit slow. But yeah, I think everyone has seen it. We have a card design when we go into profiles, and when you try to manage profiles, we see card designs like these, right? So I'm trying to replicate the same functionality to the design page as well. So till now, yeah, this is the update. Like I have implemented the card design, and the design, like there are some net bits left, right? We have logo missing here, and the buttons are not functional at this moment. Like it's only the deploy button is functional, but yeah, and this is the back view of the card. So yeah, any comments and feedback?
I feel like it looks pretty good. Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that I think overall it looks quite nice.
Yeah, if you would also show the list of tables by toggling the menu.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, yeah, that remains same.
This remains same.
Gaurav is concerned about.
I think
breaking
he
the
has
code.
a
This
strong
looks good, by the way.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, Piyush, what did you have feedback? What was that, Gaurav?
No, I was just asking that the second view is same as earlier, right?
Yeah. So like I wanted to ask one thing. Like why do we have control over the code mirror thing, like to make the numbers go a little bit this side? Like it's the fields is like overlapping the numbers. So like I didn't find any controls over the code mirror to do that, but if there is, I missed something.
Did you use the same code mirror that the actual pattern one is using? If you go there and click on it, and so there may probably margin or padding issue or similar that is stopping this. You know, this is rendered correctly here, and so you have to inspect the element and see like what's going on. Actually, you can also you have also control over code mirror too. So you will have to just see the code mirror docs, and you will be able to.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And yeah, I think I had one more question. Like, how is the like this thing working? Like, when you click it, it opens a configurator form, right? Like, I didn't find in the code like what like on click it should open a pattern form. Like,
So you are asking the file for this,
yeah,
right?
like,
So when you click on it and you open this, so you want to ask where this file is located.
yes.
So the file name is pattern configurator.js. So if you, it's under components. So just control P, find the file, and it's pattern configurator.js.
Okay, pattern configurator.js. Okay, noted. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By next week, I think other net bits like logos here and the deploy logo and the maximize button should work.
And in the card, if want, you can also add the configurator button, so you can directly access the configurator from the card view itself.
Yeah, this is the configurator button. Like, this will where will
okay, yeah.
Design.
Any more cards, guys?
Huh?
Okay, the size of cards are like the cards are big, then like they are not much. The area is free in the cards. A lot of area, like they are big. Maybe we can shrink them and get it 3 in line, maybe.
3 columns.
Yeah, 3 columns. If it looks better, and like that's just I'm proposing an idea.
Yeah, I tried to like lower the this length of the card, but it didn't look quite good. So I increased the padding, like margins for the buttons to make it as big as the performance profiles, but I never tried to decrease the width of these.
So Piyush, building on that, so basically this is the first iteration of this. We basically want this to be sort of a catalog. So we have the white space here for now, so that later on we can show compatibility and some compatibility, then caveats of having of using this pattern and how many times this pattern has been used. We want to show that information here as well. So just to get things started, this is the first iteration of it. So that's why we have the white space.
Got it.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. Feels weird to thank yourself. But moving on. Okay. We have time. Okay, no, we have some time. Ashish, would you like to talk about the updates on end-to-end testing? Okay, Ashish is not on the call. Lee, about Docker Desktop and Meshery. Just a brief introduction. We only have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll postpone it. We can have it as a future item. The same for the rest of the topics. Actually, just maybe time best spent, if you all don't mind, is to just kind of follow up on what Aditya is, what Subedi is working on, and that is that in the community design file for Meshery UI, there's a page called patterns. And so there's sort of 2 proposed iterations on what the grid view might come to look like. And Alvin has been helping quite a bit. So we'll have to, Subedi, you have to let him know, send him word of your progress. I mean, he'll be quite interested to see his designs in action. So the first, like, to take a step back, overall, the goal is essentially more or less to kind of reproduce the service mesh catalog, like inside of Meshery, to help make this a little more convenient. There's nice discoverability that happens on a web-based interface like this, where people can come find and pick, available content for for any mesh out in the catalog, and then bring that. We need to facilitate the import of a given pattern into Meshery, and we do, right? You can go into Meshery, take that URL and import the pattern. It would be equally as convenient if your starting point is from within Meshery, that you could more or less browse a similar card view style catalog. And so that's more or less what Subedi is iterating toward. In the first iteration, he's looking to take advantage of the existing information about the designs, about the patterns, and create kind of this card view, this grid view style in which you can flip it over and kind of look at the details behind it. In the second iteration, and so without any other code change to Meshery server, I believe that this can be accomplished, what's described here. In the second iteration, this might start to look a little bit more like what we were just showing on meshery.io. And this would require, a couple of changes in Meshery server, I think, to get here. Yeah. So just for context. So we'll have to send word to. So there's some other things for you all to consider as you think through this and what's useful to users. It looks like Alvin is proposing some filters. I haven't seen these, but that's great. We've discussed kind of like big numbers in the past and how, some certain statistics are helpful. Sometimes the presentation of those statistics in a line chart doesn't, really make sense or doesn't really help, but a big number, if you will, like this, or even bigger, is insightful. So if you have a particular design, how many infrastructure components are represented within a given design? How complex is it? That's one signal, right? How the order of complexity. I don't know if there are other big numbered designs at hand, but food for thought as you all think on this. Any other comments on that? Anything else that we missed on today's call? It's nice to see Smark again on the call. Smark, nice to see you. It's been a while.
Okay, so nobody wants to say anything else? Okay, silence. Okay, cool. So thank you all for joining. Since we're at time right now, so I guess I'll see you guys next week at the same time. Thank you for joining again. See you guys later. Bye bye.
Bye all.